After losing his life in a race, a NASCAR driver transports his evil soul into his monster car and sets out to find his old rival and all those who try to cross his path. Today we're going to recap the story of the movie, Phantom Racer, from 2009. At a racetrack in the United States, a NASCAR race is about to begin. The driver, named J.J. Sawyer, is on his way to his car, but is approached by Cutter, his greatest rival on the track. Cutter is standing next to Tammy, J.J.'s ex-girlfriend, and promises his rival that he will win this race. The two then head to their cars and, before taking to the track, Cutter puts a necklace on the rearview mirror, which looks like it belongs to someone very important. Minutes later, the race finally gets underway, with Cutter and JJ fighting for first place. In the final laps, they both have to pit stop and JJ's car starts to overheat. The mechanic advises him to wait for the repair, but the driver doesn't want to let his rival get ahead of him and continues the race anyway. The two continue to race fiercely, but as the mechanic warned, JJ's car has a serious engine defect. As a result, the driver loses control of the vehicle, which pushes Cutter's car over the wall. Finally, JJ suffers a serious accident, with the car overturning several times on the track, but the impact hits Cutter's vehicle, which gets on fire. JJ sees the scene in horror and shouts for Cutter, but it's too late and his car is engulfed in flames, taking the driver with it. Years have passed since that tragedy and JJ has given up racing for good, becoming a truck driver. On another job on the road, the ex-driver sees a driver distracted from the wheel and narrowly misses a serious accident. Even so, JJ had to swerve sharply off the road, which caused a leak in the transmission hose. While he's trying to fix the truck, an acquaintance of his, Sheriff Hodges, shows up to help him and accompanies him to the nearest garage. There, he meets up with an old mechanic friend called Cliff, who was also Cutter's older brother and Tammy's current husband. They catch up and Cliff takes the opportunity to show him a project that he has kept secret for years. The two then go to a garage door and inside, JJ finds the old car used by Cutter. Cliff reveals that he has completely refurbished it and believes that fate has brought JJ back, just after he has finished fixing the car. However, this reminds JJ of a terrible experience in his past, which even made him give up his racing career. But Cliff also reveals that what happened on the track wasn't his fault, as Cutter had bribed the mechanic to sabotage his rival's car, resulting in the tragic accident. On hearing this, JJ becomes enraged and throws a glass of drink he was holding against the hood of the car. Strangely, the liquid seems to melt into the bodywork, but JJ doesn't care and immediately attacks Cliff for hiding the truth all these years. The fight is interrupted by Tammy, who appears on the scene to help her husband, and JJ then leaves. When evening comes, while the truck driver goes to the bar to wait for his vehicle to be repaired, Cutter's car suddenly starts on its own and drives off down the road. At that moment, two young men see the vehicle speeding towards an isolated area and go after it. When they get there, they realize that there is no driver and decide to look for drinks inside the car. However, when one of them goes to look in the trunk, his arm starts to be sucked inside and his hand is torn off by the car. He tries to resist, but the car continues to pull him in, to the point where half his body remains inside the car, while the other half is thrown to the ground. His friend, who had been sitting in the driver's seat, tries to help him, but at that moment, the seat belt holds him tightly in the seat. The force is so great that the young man's ribs are broken and he starts to bleed, until the car finally takes him away and he drives off into the forest. The next day, JJ returns to the bar, still upset about what Cliff revealed to him. Shortly afterwards, Tammy shows up, hands him the keys to the repaired truck and wants to know what happened between him and her husband. However, JJ just wants to forget the past and soon says goodbye to Tammy and heads back to his truck. When he gets there, he falls asleep in the cab, but wakes up hours later to hear someone graffitiing the truck. When he goes to investigate, he finds a young woman painting the bodywork and, even though he doesn't know who she is, JJ takes her by force to the police station. There, he discovers that the girl, called Jessie, is none other than Tammy's daughter, who turns up shortly afterwards and takes the young woman home. Meanwhile, Cliff returns to the garage, visibly drunk and regretting what happened between him and JJ. At that moment, he realizes that the garage door is open and goes to check if anyone has tampered with Cutter's car. However, when he looks inside, the possessed car activates the door window, which instantly removes Cliff's head. The vehicle then speeds away, leaving the mechanic's body lying on the ground. Another day passes and a policeman comes to JJ's truck and orders him to go to Cliff's workshop. Not knowing what this is about, JJ goes there and is told by Sheriff Hodges that the mechanic has had his head removed. The sheriff suspects JJ because he heard about the fight the two had a few days earlier, but the truck driver claims he had nothing to do with it. Fortunately, The expert on the scene calls the sheriff to give him new information about the perishment, which occurred at the same time as JJ was at the police station. Seeing that the truck driver has an alibi, the sheriff considers him innocent, but forces him to tell him the reason for the fight between him and Cliff. JJ then reveals the sabotage that caused the accident years ago, but adds that when he saw Cutter's car, he had the impression that his old rival was still inside it. The sheriff tells JJ to leave, believing that he is still traumatized by what happened, and the truck driver decides to visit Tammy to find out how she is. At the same time, a policeman passing by sees Cutter's car on the road and sets off in search of it. He follows it to a construction site and promptly warns the sheriff, but decides to go after the vehicle himself. With his gun in his hand, the policeman heads into one of the warehouses, only for Cutter's car to appear seconds later and speed towards him. The policeman fires several shots at the vehicle, but the bullets have no effect and it ends up crashing into the car and ending up on its hood. As if that wasn't enough, the car activates the razors on the windshield wipers and uses them to saw off the policeman's face, who falls to the ground, already lifeless. Back at Tammy's house, she explains about Cutter's obsession with his car and how it ended up being his downfall. JJ then says that when Cliff showed him the refurbished car, he had the feeling that his rival's ghost was controlling the vehicle. As expected, Tammy thinks this is absurd and tells him to leave, without knowing that the ghost car is in fact real. JJ then decides to get back in the truck and leave town, but he doesn't suspect that Jessie is inside the vehicle, as the girl was looking for evidence about Cutter's perishment. Seeing JJ approaching, Jessie quickly hides inside the truck and waits for the right moment to escape. The truck driver then drives off, but on the way, he realizes that the girl is in the car and tells her to get out. Before taking her back, he buys a snack for Jessie, who continues to act rebellious. She even suggests staying with the truck driver, as she doesn't want to live in her hometown, but JJ refuses, as he knows Tammy needs her daughter to get through this difficult time. He then pulls the girl back into the truck, but Jessie is reluctant and even makes a fuss in front of everyone. However, before they can argue any further, the ghost car appears in the middle of the diner and starts destroying everything around it. Jessie recognizes the car that belonged to her father, but notices that there is no one in the driver's seat. Knowing what this is all about, JJ tells the girl to get in the truck and they drive off. Meanwhile, Tammy notices that her daughter still hasn't returned and goes to the police station to ask for help. When he learns about Jess's disappearance, Sheriff Hodges fears that something terrible may have happened to her, because that morning, he found the bodies of the two young men who were eliminated by the ghost car. The problem is that, for the sheriff, the only suspect in these crimes is JJ, because of his personal feud with Cutter and Cliff. These suspicions make Tammy even more nervous, because of what he said the day before about Cutter's car being possessed. Fearing the worst, the sheriff and his deputy arm themselves and go after JJ, with Tammy insisting on going along because she believes Jessie is with him. As she suspected, the girl is with the truck driver, who tells her his theory that the car is possessed by the spirit of Jess's father. To her surprise, the girl believes the story and asks JJ to tell her more about the old rivalry between him and her late father. The truck driver says that the supposed rivalry was created by the city to attract more attention to the races, but that in fact, they were once great friends. However, the rumors that they were rivals began to affect Cutter's mind, and he eventually became obsessed with outdoing his friend. Now that he knows the truth, Jess begins to sympathize more with JJ, but their conversation is interrupted when a police car pulls the truck over. From inside it, Sheriff Hodges appears, points his gun at the truck driver and orders him not to try to resist. Jessie gets angry and explains to everyone that JJ is innocent and that they were attacked by the ghost car, but no one listens. Angry, the girl tries to run away and Tammy, along with the sheriff's deputy, goes after her. At the same time, JJ tries to explain what happened, but Hodges just pushes the driver against the truck and prepares to arrest him. But just as he was about to pull out the handcuffs, the ghost car comes speeding up and slams into the old sheriff. Hodges is eliminated instantly, but the car isn't satisfied yet and turns around to take more victims. Seeing the seriously wounded sheriff, her assistant aims her shotgun and begins to unload the weapon at the car. However, the vehicle accelerates towards her, knocks the policewoman down with one blow and begins to crush her with its rear wheel. JJ promptly sends Jessie and Tammy into the truck and rushes to help the policewoman. He tries to pull her up by her feet, but the ghost car begins to accelerate the tire over her head, destroying her skull into 1,000 pieces. Finally, it's the car's turn to attack JJ, but he manages to get into the truck in time and gets out of there as quickly as possible. In the middle of the road, Tammy still can't believe that Cutter's spirit has taken over the car and eliminated his own brother, as well as 2 young people and 3 policemen. However, JJ says that the important thing now is to find a safe place, so he uses the radio to call for help. To their misfortune, no one answers the call, and all that remains is for the three of them to follow the road, getting as far away from the ghost car as possible. Hours later, Jessie goes to rest for a while, and Tammy is surprised to realize that her daughter has become attached to JJ. She says that their relationship has always been very difficult, as has her marriage to Cutter, who has always been a selfish and ambitious man. She even confesses her regret at having chosen him over JJ and asks what happened between him and Cliff. The truck driver, however, just shrugs it off, because he doesn't want to reveal to Tammy that both Cutter and Cliff were responsible for the accident that almost took his life. The conversation continues, but in the middle of the road, the truck malfunctions and JJ is forced to stop. The three of them then get out of the cab, while the truck driver goes to check the engine to see if anything is wrong. Unfortunately, the truck seems to have a faulty transmission and there's nothing that can be done at the moment. Luckily, there is one last resort left for JJ in the body of the truck, a NASCAR race car, which he had been paid to deliver to the owner. He starts preparing the car for the trip and talks to Tammy about Jesse and his fearless personality. Upon hearing this, the woman decides to reveal the truth and says that this way of behaving was inherited from her real father, who is none other than JJ. The truck driver is surprised and at the same time angry that Tammy has only just told him. Unbeknownst to them both, Jessie hears everything from the other side of the truck and, unable to contain her anger, runs off into the forest. In the middle of the road, she comes across the ghost car, stopped in the middle of the woods. When she looks closer, a transparent figure appears in the driver's seat, but then disappears. The girl approaches the car and sees the same necklace that Cutter used to put on the rearview mirror before the races. However, when she tries to pick it up, the car pulls her in and restrains her with the seatbelt. Shortly afterwards, JJ has finished preparing the car and calls for Jessie, but just then, the ghost car speeds past, taking the girl with it. JJ and Tammy immediately get into the race car and chase the vehicle down the road. JJ believes that Cutter is doing this to get revenge for his perishment. Not only that, but the driver's spirit wants to compete in one more race with his rival to prove that he has always been the best, even after his perishment. Tammy doesn't understand why Cutter wants revenge, since his perishment was an accident, and demands to know the truth from JJ. However, he still refuses to reveal what Cutter and Cliff did and only says that the priority now is to save the couple's daughter. Meanwhile, the ghost car continues to speed down the road, but Jessie manages to unbuckle herself. To her misfortune, the rest of the car is covered in blood and Cliff's head is dangling from the passenger seat. Jessie despairs and tries to get out, but the car continues relentlessly down the road. Finally, JJ finds the car, but it's still too far away to reach. So, to save his daughter, the ex-driver decides to challenge the ghost car in a direct confrontation and lures it towards a factory. JJ asks Tammy to wait in the car while he sets a trap to stop his rival. Minutes later, the ghost car arrives at the factory and drives towards Tammy's car. Shortly afterwards, JJ appears driving an excavator and collides with Cutter's car, leaving him trapped against the wall. The truck driver seizes the opportunity and uses a crowbar to break the windshield and free Jessie. After much effort, he finally manages to free his daughter and runs away with her, but the ghost car breaks free from the excavator and sets off to attack JJ and his family. The truck driver asks Jessie to take his mother away, while he goes to attract the attention of his rival. The two flee in their race car, while JJ follows on foot, with the ghost car on his tail. He runs as fast as he can, but the car is about to catch up with him. Even so, JJ is undeterred and provokes the vehicle into attacking him, but when Cutter gets his wish, the truck driver swerves and the ghost car goes all out, leaping towards the open sea. It seems that the vehicle is no longer going to bother them and JJ is soon reunited with Tammy and her daughter. The three of them are about to return home, but soon discover that the nightmare isn't over yet and the ghost car rises out of the water. The trio set off down the road and, as night falls, they make a quick stop at a gas station. They try to find a way out of the situation, until the owner of the gas station shows up and JJ forces him to lend him the keys to his truck. The guy agrees, but then returns to his office and takes out a gun. Despite this, JJ manages to disarm him and tells him that they need to get out of there because someone is chasing them. However, time is up and the ghost car is racing towards the station. JJ tells everyone to stand back and starts firing his gun at the vehicle, but the shots have no effect. The ghost car then tries to run over JJ, but he swerves and the vehicle ends up hitting one of the gas tanks. JJ ignites the exposed fuel, causing an explosion that destroys the gas station and leaves the ghost car covered in flames. However, the vehicle is still intact and JJ sends Tammy and Jessie off with the truck, while he goes another way with the race car. With the two of them safe, the truck driver decides to lure the ghost car into one last showdown, To settle this dispute from the past, JJ takes him towards the city and tries to lose him by entering streets and alleys, but Cutter's car doesn't want to give up and continues to chase him. The two return to the road and race side by side, competing to see who is the better driver. Suddenly, the ghost car accelerates so fast that JJ loses sight of it. He looks for the vehicle which, seconds later, hits his car and pushes him back. JJ is bewildered and Cutter prepares to crash again into his former rival's car. But instead, he stops the car next to him and from inside the cab, JJ can see Cutter's spirit materialize. Seeing that Cutter won't stop, JJ drives to a junkyard where Tammy is waiting for him. The truck driver asks for her help to end this race once and for all, and when the ghost car arrives on the scene, JJ tries to distract his enemy. The plan works and soon after, Tammy appears piloting an excavator and uses it to lift Cutter's car. However, she begins to lose control of the tractor, allowing the ghost car to escape. After that, the vehicle advances towards JJ and is about to run over him, only for Jesse to appear driving a pickup truck and collide with the car. The girl continues to push the ghost car towards a shredder and JJ quickly goes over to it and activates it. Thanks to this, the Phantom Racer's car is completely crushed and what remains of it is the old necklace that Cutter used to wear. Finally, the great feud between JJ and Cutter is over and the truck driver leaves, along with his new family. The next day, the remains of Cutter's car are piled up with other wrecked vehicles. However, for no apparent reason, the pile collapses to the ground, indicating that the Phantom Racer did it to free himself and will soon be taking his revenge on the road. So what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below. And if you liked the video, like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you next time.